Let's talk Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, obviously the draft is just a few short days away, right? By the time you guys are hearing this, we're talking about less than 36 hours, which means everyone is interested to see what Omar Khan is cooking up. It's been a very interesting offseason for Omar Khan. He's made a lot of big changes, a lot of really smart moves, and we've got a few reports that kind of highlight Omar Khan's really smart strategy in terms of how he's handling this upcoming NFL draft. Let's get right into these articles and we'll talk about it more in detail on the other side. All right, this first one is from Steelers Wire. According to NFL draft analyst Tony Pauline via Pittsburgh radio host Andrew Filipponi, the Pittsburgh Steelers are talking with the Denver Broncos about a potentially huge trade in the first round. If this were just coming from Filipponi, we wouldn't pay it any mind. But Pauline is connected and a solid draft reporter, so where there is smoke, there might just be fire. Okay, that's kind of an interesting point there. This next thing is from NBC Sports. Steelers general manager Omar Khan has made a lot of moves at quarterback so far this offseason, and he said on Monday, this talking about the pre-draft press conference, that he might not be done. Okay, that's kind of interesting as well. And the third report here is the Pittsburgh Steelers NFL draft centers on center. And while GM Omar Khan acknowledges it's an area of interest for the team and a strong class overall, the organization isn't thumbing its nose at the internal options already on the roster. I've mentioned this before, but we have guys on the roster who have flexibility, so we have options there, Khan said via the Steelers YouTube channel. All right, if this sounds completely confusing all over the place, it's because it absolutely is. It sounds like Omar Khan is completely obfuscating exactly what the Steelers' strategy here is. I think it's a smart move for him and Pittsburgh going forward. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but first, Steelers fans, in the comment section below, now that we're just a few, essentially hours away from the NFL draft, who do you want the Steelers to pick up, whether it's via trade, sitting pat, whatever they're doing? Who do you want the Steelers to pick up with the first pick they make in the upcoming NFL draft? Give us that player, that college prospect in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on Omar Khan's strategy here and what he's doing with the Steelers.
Well, it's confusing to say the least. I am confused. Understand what the strategy is, but you see all these stories. I think as we were going through looking for stories, you're just like, what exactly are the Steelers doing? And let's go through these one by one, and I'll kind of give you my take on how this really is interesting. And there's a couple different ways you could come at this. Starting from the bottom, you look at the story about the center. You're like, will the Steelers really sit on their hands and not get a center? Like they said, this is a strong draft class. There's a lot of options here. It seems like a logical choice for them to go after a center and help themselves out. Would they sit on their hands and stick with a guy that, hasn't really been proven? Well, they stuck with Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle. So, I mean, there's precedent there. They've stuck with guys that really haven't been that great before on the offensive line. They're kind of stubborn in that regard. So that makes you wonder, maybe they're not going to get a center. So it puts you both ways. He says strong draft class, but there's precedent that they stuck with inferior offensive linemen before. Then going to the quarterback one, well, the Steelers, they just got two quarterbacks. There's no way they flip this entire thing on their head, and go and draft another quarterback. Well, we thought that before. We said, well, Kenny Pickett, he was a first round pick, and they have Mason Rudolph and they had Mitchell Trubisky. There's no way that they're going to get rid of that entire quarterback room this offseason and completely flip things on its head. So I feel like when it comes to the quarterback position lately, anything is possible. And then finally, a big trade up, not something necessarily the Steelers are all about. They don't really make that many big splashy moves when it comes to the draft lately. This is a team that, kind of covets things that they have. But this Steelers, front office has done things this entire offseason and into the middle of last season, starting with the firing of offensive coordinator Matt Canada in season. They've done things we've never seen them do before. So when you tell me the Steelers now of all times are going to make a huge trade into the draft with the Broncos to try to go after a corner or whoever the case may be, it all really just is more and more confusing. So any one of those things in their own right is pretty confusing. But all three is absolutely asinine. I think Omar Khan is doing a great job of just saying, nobody knows what the Steelers are going to do. I think it's great because I think whoever the Steelers are targeting, they're probably going to get them on draft day because of it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. You know me, I'm a big time history buff, and I was reading about some old Cold War history the other day because I've got nothing better to do with my time. But it was just talking about how in the 1970s, with our battles with the Russians, the Soviet Union, and the Cold War and all that, how we were very like upfront with our strategy. Like the Soviet Union, they knew what we were gonna do, like our sanctions or our military buildup, whatever. It was all we were very all upfront and kind of honest with it. And everyone kind of knew what America was going to do. And then when the Reagan administration came into power in the early 1980s, what that Defense Department and that State Department did is said, "Hey, look, we're just going to be like completely wild card. We're going to be kind of a maverick. We're going to say some things, and then we're going to do something completely different, and we're going to go really big in this direction and really big in that direction." And it threw the Soviet Union completely for a loop. They had no idea what to do, created all kinds of problems, and of course, they collapsed, and America won the Cold War, and we're the greatest country that has ever lived. But when you focus on what the Steelers are doing here, I think that's the exact same kind of thing, right? It's one of those things for so long, everyone expected the Steelers to, if they were going to make the move, it was going to be everyone knew what they were going to do. Last draft, for example, they're looking for a tackle. Everyone knew they were looking for a tackle. They trade up and get a tackle. No big shocker there. Even when they drafted Kenny Pickett, a lot of people really expected the Steelers to draft a quarterback in the first round in that draft class, right? There's really not a lot of surprises historically, at least with the past 5, 6, 7 years or so with the Steelers. So I love Omar Khan just throwing like a wrench into the plan here, saying, listen, I'm going to throw all the stuff out there so that way no one knows what the heck we're doing. Only we know what our plan is. And when the time is there, when the moment strikes, whether it's at pick 20 or earlier in the draft, we'll be ready to execute on our plan. And we're going to be in a strong position because only we know our strategy. And for the first time, the rest of the NFL can't bank on the Steelers playing it by the old school Pittsburgh playbook. I love Omar Khan's strategy and mindset. The way he's handled things this entire offseason has worked out absolutely phenomenal. The acquisitions of Fields and Wilson are a great example of that. And this draft strategy that we've seen over the past few days is just another sign that the Steelers, the changes they're making, are heading in the right direction. And I'm really excited to see what they do draft night. I think it's going to be a great one for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, even your relatives. It's all out there. That's why we use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our information and automatically submits opt-out requests for us.
Cleaning up our information not only reduces the amount of that stupid spam we all get, but it also protects us from hackers who could use this information to help them access our social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does much more to protect us and our families from online threats. We also get features like antivirus protection, VPNs, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. That's really key. One location, get all this great stuff. It's really easy to set up. And the best of all, we get everything at one affordable price.
And you may already have one or two of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on doing the hard work to keep you safe so you can focus on other tasks and have peace of mind. We value our privacy and we value yours. You can go to aura.com/Saturday to start your 2-week free trial. Also, link below in the description. Again, aura.com/Saturday for your free 2-week trial.